Hello, welcome to the class of 2019 confirmation. I'm Ethan Johnson, and I'm starting our service with a little speech. So tonight I'm wearing my grandfather's talit, or my great-grandfather's talit. I never met him, but I feel a connection with this that's not, it's not entirely, it's a religious item, but it's not entirely religious. It's the bloodline it's the bloodline of my entire family, and from generation to generation, the things that have been passed down, how today I'm Jewish because of the hardships and the things that the rest of my ancestors endured. And it makes me think about my identity. And tonight we're celebrating our Jewish identity, but I can't really talk about Jewish identity without talking about my whole identity, because I feel like parts of that built who I am, and parts of my secular life built my Jewish experiences. So I've been coming to temple for too long to count, too many years. But I think some of the first things that I remember is like the joy of coming here and going to a fun program that was organized by Alana when I was like tiny, when I was not 6 feet. And I don't know, that joy in life and finding that spiritual identity that's so young is something that I'm so grateful to have. And so I'd first like to thank Alana for founding that when I was so young. I don't feel like I would be keeping this as close to me if it didn't start from such a young age, and I wasn't so inspired to keep with it, and I wasn't so energized and excited about Judaism without those programs that just made me feel at home here. And that set me for a world of experiences. I love choir, I love singing, and I've been in choir for 5 years now. And I performed this year with our high school men's varsity ensemble at one of the largest music conventions in the state, or one of the largest music conventions in America, the Texas Music Educators Association. In front of over 1,000 people, we performed this great set that we worked on for 8 months. And one of our pieces was a Jewish piece. It was a Renaissance, late Baroque arrangement of the Baruch, and I felt really close to that because of my Jewish identity and those things that happened secularly with all of our other choir pieces, that spiritual connection. That one piece really brought it home for me. And I don't know, the arts has just been what I love, and my Jewish identity and my secular identity have brought those worlds collided together. And my confirmation project isn't typical in a way. It's not a short summary. It's what I've done throughout my life, because my Jewish identity is everything I've done. I don't think I can sum it up in one thing that you could sit here through. But it's the fact that I've done tens of shows, and I've designed lights and sound for 4 shows, and even though that sounds very kind of, I don't know, it doesn't sound like it'd be a spiritual thing, you find meaning and purpose in what you do in life. And I found a lot of purpose, and especially we're doing this one show right now, Steel Magnolias, and going through these life cycle events with these 6 Southern women in a barber shop, or in a beauty shop. I don't know why I feel such a spiritual connection to that. If you know the show at all, you know what the cycle's about. It's so weird to think about how that's like a spiritual event for me. But working on that show and working with these women, in all other shows that I do, I find a meaning and a connection. And I learned how to feel that through what I learned here, and I bring my experiences from there into this temple. And that's my identity, is everything I've done. So that's what we're here to talk about tonight, is our identity and what we do and what we hope to accomplish for the future. Because our Jewish identity isn't just something that's fostered here, even though it's grown so much from the people that I've had here to help me along the way, it's everything we do. And we pour our heart and our soul and our spirit into everything that we come across, or at least that's what I hope that we do. So tonight is a celebration. Tonight is a victory lap for the, dozen years that we've been here. It's a summation of what we've done, and if you haven't been here the entire time, it might not make a lot of sense, but it's what we've done with our lives up until this point. So with that, I'm going to let the rabbi speak. Thank you very much.
It's still Shabbat. Shabbat shalom and welcome. We are moving into, thank you, but we are moving into service mode. So over the course of the service, you will see many different types of projects. We begin with Shabbat and what will be in a few moments pieces of a Shabbat afternoon service that includes a reading from the Torah. We will conclude with Havdalah that moves us into the week, and you'll see some of that. So over the course of our service, we will be using the prayer book a little bit, and you can follow along or just listen, but you'll find those under your seats. The orders of the service is on the back of the service sheet. A quick word, which is that this class is unique in that each of its 9 members came from a very solid but a very different Jewish grounding. Their experiences take them from different cities, even different countries, different unique places. And so with those groundings, part of the question of confirmation, which Red Goldstein and I explore with them, and this is Red's 11th year teaching with I think a hiatus or something, or straight through. Okay, all right. And he's been a wonderful partner these last 3 years in teaching and bringing his life's experience. And you can look for his picture on the confirmation wall later if you like. We're not going to tell them the year you gave that, but you can see he brings that piece of history. So I want to thank him. I want to thank each of his parents and grandparents, relatives, anyone who was one of the legs who propped up these students. I want to acknowledge Alana Knust, who taught many of these students for years and is here with us tonight. I want to honor and acknowledge Cantor Shoshana, who is our educator and this year has really been pulling together the strands of the tallis into a school and has also been kind enough to give Red and I a lot of leeway. So we thank her for that. If there is an image for this class, other than the wonderful service that was put together that says Lador Vador, it is what do we take with the foundations we've been given and how do we fill it moving forward. Each of these students has been given, the imagery we used was of a backpack or a knapsack. Each one of them had something their parents gave them. But part of what we pointed out to the students is over generations, each generation has made a decision about what stayed in the knapsack and what was taken out. And as we shared with their students, if we don't add new things to them, soon they will be very light indeed. And so these students take those foundations or take those knapsacks and they fill them with new things. One of their projects was to pick a new observance that they had never done in a new way. And you can probably ask them afterwards, what did they do and what did they think? In addition, they had to write a speech or prepare some kind of project that combined who they are and an exploration of their Jewish identity. Some you will see during the social time, the gathering time, in the Great Hall after our service. And thank you to the parents who put together a wonderful reception afterwards. You should not only go to it, but you should look at what these students did. Some of them prepared projects. Some of them wrote speeches. And one of them even wrote a play.
The year's 2013. Vince is a 17-year-old boy who grew up in the big city of Chicago. He was raised by a single mother from the time he was 3. Vince always had his friends to rummage around the city with. His best friend, Aiden, was his partner in crime. Every block Vince took, Aiden was by his side. Scene 1, Vince's room. Vince is sitting at his desk playing video games.
You ready to go? Go where? We were supposed to go shoot some hoops down at the park. He really thinks he can beat me this time.
Yeah, he's weird. You're fun.
You okay, dude? You seem off.
Go show Danny who's boss.
Yeah, you know I will.
See ya.
Hasta luego, loser.
Bye, Mrs. L. Bye, sweetie. Tell your mom we're still on for Tuesday next week.
Can do.
Vince puts his computer away and Mother steps in his room.
Does he ever slow down? What? Does he ever slow down? Sure he does. He's just excited today. Just today? He has a lot of hair. So what? He's my best friend. Do you think maybe it's time to branch out a little bit? What's that supposed to be? Well, you know how he is. I think he's gonna get in trouble with us. Mom, we've been best friends since 3rd grade. You think I'm just gonna get rid of him? I'm not saying to get rid of him. Vince, I just want you to be safe. Maybe if you didn't breathe down my back, I might listen to you. Vince, hey, I'm not taking out with Aiden, my best friend.
Scene 2. Aiden walks up to the basketball court.
You want some more, Danny? Huh? You're losing by 63 points. Oh, hey, Vince. I thought you couldn't make it.
I decided otherwise. So, can I play winner?
I was actually about to go get some ice cream. You want to come?
Yeah, why not?
See you, Danny. God, he's awful.
He's nice. He tried his best.
Well, that's what he's gonna know. At least not for the king of the court.
Yeah, I'll take big shots. So good.
Whatever.
How's Julia? She's fine. Just, yeah, whatever. It's whatever. You ever think about why we're here? What? Yeah, like, why are we here of all places? Chicago. Why Chicago? You know, our parents moved us here. But, like, more than that. Don't you think it's weird how we both ended up here and became best friends? What are the odds? I guess so, but
Hey, glad we both could end up here.
why is that?
You opened me up. Without you, I'd just be sitting at home reading a book.
Do you think there's something bigger than us?
No one is bigger than me. You want me to recommend? Yeah.
That's not what I meant. I mean, like, a god.
Yeah, I think so.
Have you ever had a connection with a god?
Yeah, actually. I feel like I'm here for him. He's kept me safe. Remember when I lived on fast, I found my way from the clouds?
Yeah. Did anything happen?
Well, my parents got really tired of worrying all the time about who was sick or not. There were robberies and kidnappings all the time. And we got to move downtown, our apartment building burned down. How come you never told me?
I'm not sure. I just don't want to talk about it much.
I think we told him that fire.
If even that is scary, hey, it's okay.
I know, but I think that's why I really believe in God. He saved me from that fire. Without him, I wouldn't have met you.
That one is crazy.
Do you believe in God?
It's just weird. I want to be God. What's keeping me from believing? I think that's what I need to figure out.
All right, man. Well, I gotta go. I'll see you later.
Okay, see ya.
Scene 3. Vince is walking home from hanging out with Aiden, but he takes a different way home than he normally goes. As he's walking, he finds a quarter. He casually picks it up. As he does, an old man comes around the corner.
Hello there, sir.
What are you doing with that?
You in this quarter?
Yes, that's mine.
Here you go.
You know what's special about coins?
No, what's special about coins?
You can't have a one-sided coin.
Never thought of that.
You should think for yourself. Don't try to think for others.
Vince finally gets home. As he's getting ready for bed, in his jean pocket, he finds the quarter. Scene 4. Vince is talking on the phone with Aiden about what just happened.
Hey, what's up? When I was walking home, I found a quarter on the ground, and then this old guy came up to me and was like, "Wait, that's not me." He was so confused. And then after I gave him the quarter, I got home, and when I was getting ready for bed, I found the quarter in my pocket. It's so weird. It's scary.
What did he look like?
To be honest, I don't really remember. Crazy. Do you think this means something? I feel different. Like, good.
Hi. Okay. Good afternoon or evening. My name is Sophie, the second one. So at a very young age, I became very curious about my ancestors and what made me, me. Granted, most kids are pretty curious, pretty young, but I knew this was different. But what I didn't know is where it would take me. My dad would always tell me these amazing stories about my Opi, which is German for grandfather, about him being in World War II and how he lived in Germany. But I realized he never told me too much detail, and that wasn't enough for my curious little mind. Every time I'd go to visit him, he'd give me special treats from Germany and would make special dishes that I fell in love with. Knowing that was my special little connection with a country all the way on the other side of the world blew my mind. Then again, I was still in elementary school. Multicolored pens blew my mind. About the time I started Sunday school was when things started to click into place. My dad was never religious, and he also was not Jewish. My mother, on the other hand, is all about Judaism and her connection with God. Every year when Holocaust Remembrance Day came around, more and more questions popped into my mind. Soon other kids started asking me questions that I didn't even know how to answer. At the time, a German Jew didn't make sense to me. Then one day, I was in the car with one of my friends in middle school, and we were talking about my Judaism, and she knew my dad was German. Then she asked what kind of situation I would have been in if I was alive during the Holocaust. Would it have been a forbidden love? Would I have to hide? Or would I be in camp? Or would I live with my father and be surrounded by soldiers? That was my turning point. I had so many questions that I couldn't answer and I needed to know. My little brain couldn't handle it. I recently reconnected with my dad, and I was old enough to handle what I thought I was going to be told. We talked for hours, and I found out he had an ancestry tree that dates back to the 1500s. My mind was blown, but a lot of pieces were still missing. Random documents were there, but then I remembered my dad once told me that when my Opie moved to America, he had changed our last name. I realized maybe that was why I couldn't find much. I asked my dad our last name, and he told me there's a castle near Hellenthal, Germany, under our last name. I looked it up right away and realized not only was it a castle, it was a whole village with the current population of around 600. It's a very secluded community out in a very rural area. My dad has told me that my Opie has documents that allow him to go into that castle. Though he is no longer with us and we don't know where these papers are, all of this information has blown up in a matter of months. I'm still very curious about this mystery castle that not many people know about. When I go to California this summer, I plan on talking to my Omi, which is German for grandmother, and try to see if she has anything she can show me. I hope to someday, after I graduate, take a trip to Europe and visit these historical sites, maybe get to see this castle. I used to be very skittish about telling people I was a German Jew, but not only am I proud of my heritage, but I still want to learn so much more. I'm still researching my mom's side and hope to someday extend my Europe trip and visit Poland and Russia where my mom's side was. This journey isn't going to be easy, and I realize I might have to prepare myself for some hard times. I would like to also visit Auschwitz and see what it was like for my ancestors who were in Poland. These past few months have been crazy, and I've been conflicted about talking my one-of-a-kind situation. I realize that, since it is one-of-a-kind situation, I should let my curious mind ask questions and explore more. So while this journey may be tough and filled with many different emotions and unanswered questions, I will have to rely on patience and my family to help me through this journey, and maybe one day I will get to visit this castle. Thank you.
For those who wish to follow the next part of the service,
please rise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora, El Ata Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'ezras Sarah.
Our fathers and mothers prayed, each through their own experience of God, each through their own visions, which we have come to share. Abraham, with the fervor of justice, pleaded the cause of cities. Sarah, in the pain of waiting, dared to hope for new life. Isaac, meditating alone in the field, lifted his eyes to find love. Rebekah asked for the ability to discern God's call. Jacob climbed the rungs of his night into heaven, seeking destiny. Leah dreamed of love, and Rachel sought harmony. We, as they, seek God's presence. Baruch atah Adonai, poked Sarah u'magen Avraham. Ata gibor leolam Adonai, mechaye hakol atara lehoshia, mechalkel chaim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim berofech olim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umidol melach, melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atach lechayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol.
Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah. You can all be seated. Good evening. I'm Andrew Nober. For my project, I thought about all the places I feel spiritually connected to God, to Judaism, to myself, I guess. I chose 4. They are Bethel Congregation, the Trinity Trails that run along the Trinity River in Fort Worth, Philmont Ranch in New Mexico, which is a scout ranch. I'll talk a little bit about. There's a little bit more about it on my project that you guys can read about, and a range of mountains north of Anchorage, Alaska. So 4 obvious places. All these places, with the exception of Bethel, are outside. Most of them are far from the reaches of civilization and the nearest obvious source of Jewish influence. What I find is that, for some reason that I'll try to explain, I somehow feel a spiritual clarity of sorts in these places. I believe the emotions that I've experienced in these natural settings can be easily labeled, but are difficult to adequately describe. How my religion and Jewish identity fits into the rest of my life is often hard to figure out and difficult to decipher, but in these places, everything just clicks. This is the best way I can describe the feeling. Many of the places I've singled out were reached in the middle of backpacking trips where Judaism and God would be thought to be second to the bodily needs of food and rest. Oddly, it is during this extended and often mindless activity that I get the rare opportunity to think for a second, thinking which inevitably leads me to the great questions of God and religion and the like. While I think, I feel inexplicably Jewish. I do not know how to explain the feeling, it just is. My first thought is that the natural setting of these locations are the trigger for this feeling. Perhaps is the freedom from the everyday hustle and bustle that brings about mental clarity and the feeling of closeness with God. When I am less worried and distracted, perhaps I've unconsciously found an opportunity to focus on my spirituality and connection with the religion. These settings have both natural beauty and are spots where I felt particularly religious or connected with God. They all share the feeling that a quick prayer or contemplation seems appropriate or necessary. Correlation may not necessarily be causation, but I'm inclined to believe that this, in case the natural setting and kind of wilderness of these places is a big factor. I often wonder how I can experience the feelings engendered by these spaces all the time, but I fear that they are just a special effect of specific environments, and unfortunately, I can't feel that all the time. Thank you.
And who is wise? The one who learns from everyone. And who is mighty? One who controls one's urges. And who is rich? One who is happy with what one has.
Sorry, y'all, I'm a little short. Okay. Parents can only give good advice or put them on the right paths, but the final forming of a person's character lies in their own hands. Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. The confirmation class today has gathered standing before our community. We are surrounded by our loved ones, who have traveled near and far to attend this momentous day. As I glance around the room, I see generations of families, also proud of their current sophomores back here. Now I want the sophomore class to rise. I want you all to look at your family member on stage and mouth the words, "I love you." Standing before y'all is the next generation of our lineages, yet we all have a story on how we became the people standing before you. Y'all may be seated. So to represent my story, I've created a photo scrapbook. This book represents my view of the world and how I began to discover my Jewish identity. I'm a native of Fort Worth. My first Jewish interaction was at Lowell Goldman right across the street, where I met a few of my current best friends. I could tell you about all the details in the scrapbook, although that could go on for a while. So I want to hit a few highlights that made me, me. I want to begin by talking about my family, the core link of my Judaism. Yes, we celebrate holidays and attend services on high holy days, most times. Although I want to share my experience with unconditional love. I'm very fortunate when it comes to my family life. I have my wonderful parents and my amazing older brother who I somehow got here today. My parents have encouraged me and my brother to develop self-independence and continue to grow as individuals from day one, even if that meant I had to try and fall asleep on the ground at the edge of my room crying. They have always been a huge part of my life. They have taught me that everything that they do is out of love, and they are trying to push me to become the best version of myself. One thing I have learned about Judaism is that you determine what you choose to believe, that this religion isn't a fixed path that you have to follow. We still have a foundation of the idea, although we began learning at a young age. Early on, I had to be able to rely on my own hands to get through whatever difficulty arose. Following the idea of family, I want to touch upon memories that couldn't be created outside of a Jewish event. As some of y'all know, I'm very involved in both the Temple Youth Group and the Regional Youth Group. For the past 2 years, I've engaged in many conversations, developing different friendships all around Texas and the Oklahoma area and even beyond. Friendship means challenging one another to be the best version of themselves. I've been so fortunate that two of those people are sitting up here with me today. But what does it mean to be the best version of ourselves? Growth? Yes. I would also add repair. Tikkun olam means repairing the world. I've always been fascinated by the idea of helping one another. This is one of the things that I strive for, to be the best part of a community. Everyone in this room makes a difference in our community. What is a mitzvah is up to how you want to make a difference. Community is not the sole purpose. It is also the understanding of oneself. The life experiences thus far have made us the people we are today. The way we are brought up by our parents and the things we have learned in our childhood have come together to make us all unique from everyone else. Being true, authentic, and a real individual allows us to live the best life we possibly can. So I would like to take another moment for everyone to close your eyes and think about a moment with your grandparents and your parents. Consider the lines, "We are hope and we are healing." Now let's join the confirmation class of 2018-2019 in singing L'Adore Vador by Josh Nelson.
are blessed, and we are holy. We are children of your way, and the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. Bador, Bador, Nagid Golecha. Bador, Bador, we protect this chain. From generation to generation. Bador, Bador, these lips will praise your name. Bador, Bador, Nagid Golecha. Bador, Bador, we protect this chain. From generation to generation. Bador, Bador, these lips will praise your name.
This year in confirmation class, I took a look back at what made me who I am. My Jewish journey started at Little Goldman. That was the start of shaping me to understand what being Jewish is all about. Then I went on to the Fort Worth Hebrew Day School, where I was immersed in Judaism on a daily basis. Then when I look back at my years at Sunday school and then to Green Family Camp, I realized one main memory in all these organizations are the songs and music that always made me so happy. Music has played a huge role in my Jewish journey. Music for me is Lador Vador, the songs we hear from our parents and grandparents. The music has been passed down for generations. Music is an important part of Judaism, in my opinion, because it's how we pray together, from being in services to being outside at camp singing songs. It can also be a getaway from everyday life. Music is an art that brings people together. I started my Jewish journey in preschool by singing songs and dancing on Shabbat. Music has the power to connect us to ourselves, to each other, to God, to the past, and to the future. My family may not all be Jewish or on the same level as Judaism. That has made me more accepting and open to others. I cannot thank them enough for helping shape me into the person I am today. One thing everyone in my family has in common is music, whether it be rock or Jewish prayers. I am now a Jewish adult, and I am continuing my Jewish journey and finding out who I am as a person.
So when we were planning this service, we talked about what prayers and songs we really wanted to have in here, and it was kind of a common thread that all of us really like Oseh Shalom, but we couldn't agree on which one we liked the most. And so we have a mashup of 4 Oseh Shaloms. Yeah.
Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael.
Throughout my life, Judaism and music have gone hand in hand. From temple services and religious school tefillah to nifty Havdalah and Green Family Camp song sessions, my Jewish life has been driven by music. Starting when I was little, Judaism shaped and developed everything musical in my life. I started playing guitar because I watched my uncle lead songs for students of all ages. The first song I learned on the guitar was a Jewish song for Havdalah. My singing has always been a part of holy moments at camp too. And most recently, my song leading in Nifty and planning and leading services as Swifty's Religious and Cultural Vice President has been impelled by music. Because of this lifelong connection, I decided the culminating work of my Jewish childhood, this confirmation project, should have to do with all of that. So as we see today, I worked with Rabbi Zimmerman to put together this service for my fellow confirmands as a show of my passion to connect Judaism, music, and prayer. Throughout our weeks of discussions this year in confirmation, we have learned a lot about different aspects of Judaism. However, confirmation isn't about us becoming Jews. It is about how we are becoming Jews. We aren't making the decisions we are told to make. We are learning how to make the decisions we want to make. We aren't learning about what Judaism is. We are finding what it means to us. And the way we are accomplishing all of these steps towards finding our Jewish identities is L'Dor V'Dor, from generation to generation. Our confirmation class is being taught things from the people who have found their Jewish identities and creating what we find meaningful from that. And hopefully one day, we will be able to pass our knowledge, our own knowledge, to younger generations too.
We are turning to page 366. Red Goldstein will help us by bringing the Torah through the congregation, and then a bit of the Torah portion in Hebrew, and more of it in English will be read, so you'll be able to listen to it. We just keep hitting the jackpot. And what I mean by that is, we didn't choose this date for the Torah portion. We chose this date because in the lives of our teenagers and their siblings, this is the only date anyone can agree on. But miraculously, for the third year in a row, it's a great, perfect Torah portion, maybe the best one yet. I don't know if that's divine providence or luck. Ask me in year 4. But our Torah portion is Kedoshim. It is in the middle of the Torah. Now, a point of clarification. This is the afternoon. As Rabbi Mecklenburg can remind you, I didn't make this up. And in the afternoon, you read the next week's Torah portion. For those of you who are trying to show me up, yes, it wasn't this morning's Torah portion if you were in temple. It is the next week's Torah portion. So as this is an afternoon service, we are reading the portion that will be read in synagogues the next 7 days. It is the Holiness Code. It comes from Leviticus 19. It is in the exact center of the Torah, and is really the only reading in the Torah that has its own title other than Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 words or commandments. It is known as the Holiness Code. We'll listen more to it. Perfect for this time. We rise as we take the Torah from the Ark. Baruch Shenatan Torah HaTorah. Baruch Shenatan Torah. Ki kol bashama yemuva, kol bashama yemuva, retz Adonai hamamlacha v'yamina lecho cholerosh al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim. Al shlosha devarim ha'olam ha'ed. Al shlosha devarim. Al shlosha devarim. Al shlosha Al shlosha devarim. Please be seated. And our blessings for reading from the Torah on page 368, if you wish to follow along. I'm going to invite the whole confirmation class up because after Molly chants a little bit in Hebrew, the class is going to read parts of this Torah portion for us in English. Oh, you go first. All right. And so you can find the blessing on page 368.
Baruch אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה ודבר אדוני אל משה לאמור דבר אל כל אמרת ישראל ואמרת אלוהם קדושים יהיה כי קדוש אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשמור ואכן תורה ואת עבדותי אמרו אני אדוני אלוהיכם אל תפנו אל הלחם ואלוהי מחר לא תעשו לחם אדוני אלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם
The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the whole Israelite community and say to them, You shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy.
Oh, yeah. You shall each revere his mother and his father, and keep my Sabbaths. I, the Lord, am your God.
Do not turn to idols or make molten gods for yourself. I, the Lord, am your God.
When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap all the way to the edges of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest. You shall not pick up your vineyard bare, or gather the fallen fruit of your vineyard. You shall leave them for the poor and the stranger. I, the Lord, am your God.
You shall not steal. You shall not deal deceitfully or falsely with one another. You shall not swear falsely by my name, profaning the name of your God. I am the Lord.
You shall not defraud your fellow. You shall not commit robbery. The wages of a laborer shall not remain with you until the morning.
You shall not insult the deaf or place a stumbling block before the blind. You shall fear your God. I am the Lord.
You shall not render an unfair decision. Do not favor the poor or show deference to the rich. Judge your kinsmen fairly. Do not deal basely with your countrymen. Do not profit by the blood of your fellow. I am the Lord.
You shall not hate your kinsfolk in your heart. Reprove your kinsman, but incur no guilt because of him. You shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge against your countrymen. Love your fellow as yourself. I am the Lord.
You shall observe my laws.
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu, baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen.
What we're going to do before we continue with the Shema and the V'ahavta, the last part of our service, and some presentations, is a ritual we have developed here from a number of places. Some of the parents know about this, some will be put on the spot, but basically what we do is every confirmant has a chance in front of the ark to hold the Torah and to take a moment with the Torah to think about what it is they confirm, what it is they commit to, how their lives will be an act of holiness. They do this underneath a chuppah, if you will, made out of a talit. Now, as Red will tell you, it's a little clumsy as we set the chuppah up, but there is an imagery. As Ethan shared with us, the talit means many things, but one of those is that its fringes are a weaving over of everything that surrounds us, all of the different strands, the mitzvot, our families, the roots from which we came, the places to which we will go. And so the reason that I wear this rather large, clunky wool tallit that I only take out at the High Holy Days in here is because its better use is as a very, very special chuppah. And so these poles will be held up by your teachers, the director of the school, Red and Shoshana, your parents, and underneath the poles of that chuppah, you will have that moment to receive your blessing. We will not ask the congregation to stand, although the Torah will be up, because that would require you to stand for several moments. So you can remain seated. But we are going to call up Caroline Sloter's parents, and we are going to call up Red and Shoshana, Cantor Shoshana, and as we dress the Torah, we are going to make our chuppah.
You can stand up now. I got it. Using that as a clip. How do you make this like this? No, I got it. So I think we're nailing this. So I think we're nailing this. As we wait for it. I didn't.
We can do one day right now.
And since we don't want this to fall and start all over again, when I call out the next confirmand, parents come forward. Simon Fraser. Sophia Peller. Ethan Johnson. Andrew Noble. Zachary Schwartz. Zach Schwartz. Zimmerman. Turn to page 10. We rise. My son reminded me about how this had some splinters in it, and I forgot to mention, I did last year, that I intentionally picked, when I was going through Home Depot looking for the best poles last year, I changed my mind, intentionally picked the weakest poles. They are only as strong as the people holding them. They're only as strong as the foundation that keeps it there. And so in front of the open ark, we continue with one of those foundations as we join in the Shema.
Israel, Adonai.
Turn to page 598. As we move from redemption, we move to memory. Each of us is here because someone in the past, even if we never knew them, laid the foundations. And so thinking of all of them, we are led in the mourner's Kaddish, we rise.
Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, v'yalmad yivrach du'uteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'zman kari v'imru amen. V'hei shmei rabbah v'rach le'olam ve'olei maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kudshah b'rechu. Le'olam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tishbechata v'nechemata. Damira v'yama v'imru amen. Yehi shma rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'Ramah. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen.
Please be seated.
For my confirmation project, I wanted to think about L'Dor Vador, like my dad was talking about earlier, the things we take out of the backpack. But I wanted to think about how I could interpret that in my life. So I made a cookbook of Jewish recipes from my childhood, but updated for me. This is my own version of L'Dor Vador because I want to be able to make the recipes my family made when I live on my own, so I can carry on these traditions. One way we keep past generations alive is by doing the things they did. Cooking recipes they loved or made all the time is a really cool way to do this. I also left extra pages in each section of my cookbook for future generations to add their own recipes and their own traditions, just like I have. These are obviously an important part of our culture, but they also have a deeper meaning. They were a part of my childhood, and I wanted to update them in a way that I could recreate. This included making them vegan, so I had to change a lot of the ingredients. But if you take out or add a ton of ingredients to a recipe or anything, does it change it? Is it even still the same recipe or the same food? Does it count as keeping a tradition after all those modifications have been made? In my opinion, this is what Reform Judaism is all about, because we take past traditions and change them for our own uses. A lot of the time, we may be scared or reluctant to change our traditions just because of how long we've been doing them the same way, but if we don't change things for our own uses, we may lose them altogether. Changing the way we do things is scary, but if I didn't change these recipes to make them vegan, I would never be able to make them again, and I think that that's how traditions can die. If we don't adapt our culture, our prayers, our food, and our traditions all together so that they make sense in our lives, what's the point in keeping them anymore? Thank you.
What a privilege it is to be able to have just 20 Sundays, which is all Rabbi Zimmerman and I get with these students. He and I have a secret, and that is the blueprint by which we teach. And you've seen every bit of it, so I'm going to reveal the little secret. I want you in your mind to have a Star of David in front of your eyes. And I want you to think of that Star of David for a minute and look at the very bottom of it. And I want you to see that is each one of these wonderful students up here. Next to them, on either corner, is their family and Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people. At the very top is God. And so you look at that and you see God brought us these children through our families and through the people. What else is there? Just above, at the other 2 points on the star, you have all of the Jewish community and all of the community around you, the greater community, well, that leaves one point. And what that one point is, if you'll look outside, that's the world out there that they have not yet met. They have come together with us and have had an opportunity to learn all 6 points from themselves through everything. And what they've done is they've learned how to way to connect all that together. And that is the beauty of what you heard tonight. So I want to thank you all for the opportunity for Rabbi Zimmerman and me to be able to share with them what we could to make them have our little part of, to help make them who they are today. So thank you. And with that, Shoshana and I are going to present gifts to the students. And the gifts include, let's see, a little Torah. I'm going to speak out loud a little more. They get their own Tanakh. They get a cool little gift. They get their certificates and a photo of each of them. Sophia Bell. Anya Stewart. When you get to watch the rabbi with his own daughter under the hood, that's a pretty cool deal. Okay, so I'd like to call for Molly Zimmerman.
As we turn to Havdalah, we do want to point out, first of all, that in the back is our president, Jeff Kaetzer. This is his last, he's like, no, he's done. Tomorrow's the annual meeting. It's the last official act, and it's a wonderful last official thing, so we're glad you're here, Jeff. And also, wait, Rabbi Mecklenburger is standing, and he was one of those roots. He helped raise many of these students for many, many years, and we want to acknowledge that and all his contributions also. We move to another transition with Havdalah, which moves us from the sacred moment into the time after Shabbat. and we continue with Havdalah.
Shavua Tov. Having served Bethel now for a little less than a year, I have been given the unique opportunity and privilege of becoming part of this beautiful and warm community. Among the greatest pleasures I've had over the past year has been getting to know each and every one of our amazing students here in our religious school. And it's with great pride that I stand here this evening to honor our confirmation students. Talmidim, today we are marking a very special moment in each of your lives, a pivotal point on your Jewish journeys. Like beautiful trees, you began as tiny seedlings, and over the years, your families and teachers within our community have seen to it that you were cared for properly, with plenty of love, nourishment, warmth, support, education, and encouragement. You have grown and blossomed into incredible Jewish individuals. I know I speak on behalf of Rabbi Zimmerman and the entire Beth El community when I say how proud I am of each and every one of you for reaching this special moment in time. Together with your families, the foundations have been laid for your Jewish journeys. At birth, you were given metaphorical toolboxes or knapsacks, as we were discussing earlier, and over the years, you've begun to fill them. This is not the end. Rather, it is just the very beginning of what promises to be a lifetime filled with richness of our Jewish traditions. As you travel along through your lives, I pray that you'll never stop learning and discovering. May you continue to be enriched and energized by all that life has to offer. Never forget your roots, where you came from. Confirmation students, I know that as you move on to 11th and 12th grades, you'll be faced with challenges of AP courses and college apps. It's my genuine hope that your Jewish upbringing serves as a guide and comfort as you prepare for the exciting years ahead. Continue to grow as Jewish adults. You will make beautiful Jewish memories that you'll cherish forever and share with your future families, Ledor Vador. And when you go to college, don't be afraid to walk into your local Hillel chapters. Make friends. Go to Israel on birthright. Study Hebrew as an elective. In these moments of transition and accomplishment, I turn to the wisdom of Dr. Seuss, who put it so eloquently in his famous book, Oh, the Places You'll Go. Kid, you'll move mountains. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting. So get on your way. You have brains in your head and you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own and you know what you know, and you are the one who will decide where to go. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Oh, the places you'll go. Students, I applaud you all. I'm sincerely looking forward to hopefully having all of you back next year as madrichim here in our Sunday morning religious school. May you all grow from strength to strength, Ledor Vador, and may you always consider Beth El your home and family. Mazal Tov. We are all so very proud of you. It's now my honor and privilege to lead us all in Debbie Friedman's gem, Tfilat HaDerech, or the Traveler's Prayer. With these beautiful words, we wish you all a life of infinite blessings. Please join me. And if you'd like, you can follow along with the words, which can be found on page 649 in your Sidurim. There's a lovely chorus on the word Amen, and of course, you're invited to sing along with the entire prayer. May we be blessed as we go on our way. May we be guided in peace. May we be blessed with health and joy. May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. Amen. sheltered by the wings of peace. May we be kept in safety and in love. May grace and compassion find their way to every soul. May this be our blessing. Amen. Please join us. Amen. Amen. May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. Sal Tov to all of you.
As we prepare for Motzi, thank you, Cindy Simon, for yet another ridiculously large challah. She has quite the oven. I do want to point out as we conclude with the Motzi, two things you need to know. One is that Mark Sloter is an incredible photographer. So when we say a picture from us, it's like a really good picture. All right? And secondly, I do need to point out that the gift cards you got are from Sandy Hollander, for whom confirmation is she's the incoming president of Federation and a member of this congregation and couldn't be here tonight, but she loves confirmation so much. She's depressed when she can't be here, and I wanted to know who that gift came from. And of course, the Bible, wherever you go, it's small enough to fit in your pocket. May the lessons of our people be with you always. We join together. See, I wasn't kidding. Here, lift it up. There we go. It's like the 10 Commandments, like half of it, okay? We join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Thank you. Join us in the Great Hall.
Hey, Mom, guess what? I have some sesame seeds.
Oh, we both get to eat it, Phoebe.
There you go. Enjoy.
I'll eat it for both of you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you can eat it. She's on the rope.
She doesn't eat a Charlotte.